and it didn't freeze. Why is it every now and again it doesn't freeze? So there you go. So all of you naysayers in the chat who put and freeze proved you wrong this week. Cheers, everyone. I've been waiting all day for that one. It's warm. I'm not built for this weather. I might have mentioned that once or twice. Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, or good whatever time it is, wherever you happen to be. It's Friday once again, and us happy crew have joined to celebrate the fact once again. Let's see who was first in. And then I've got a couple of things to talk about tonight. Well, one in particular, I've been asked to give a shout out to somebody, and you'll find out what that's all about later. I see Timbo was first in. And then we've got Rent to Kill and Fiend Tunes, PFY Guitars, Mark Kerno, Joe McMurray, Terry Day. Terry, I'll second that, mate. After the horrific event this week, thank God for a little bit of respite from the evil in this world, even if it's only for an hour. It's getting harder to stay sane. Anyway, that's not why we're here to talk about that, but I'll second that emotion, mate. Otto Geddon, Sean House, Grandpa Joe, a super hot day in New York, staying in and staying cool with everyone here. Have a safe and stress-free weekend. Well, I'll do my best, Joe, and I'm sure everyone else will. And there's Boulder, 64, and Ben Allmark, Relaxing Meditation, Tom Clark, Steve Entwistle, Johnny Random is in, so is Dave Fiendish, Paul Trainer, BSC, Amadeus is in, so is John Ross, and Malcolm Spillett. Excuse me. You know when you've got a sneeze that just doesn't want to sneeze. There's Ian Clark and Anton, and who else we got? We've got Mickey Walnuts, David James, Peter Nicholson, Rent to Kill. Way down the list. Your days of being right in at the start of the chat, mate. You know you need to be maybe set your alarm a bit earlier. And there's Calby and the Rocco Cat, Dr. Gomez, Savvy64, Jed Ellis, Deco Dude, Johnny D, and Jamal123. So there's Vincent Brennan as well, and Phil, Robert Forsyth, David Evans, Frank Boland, Peter Shields, Cylon Hybrid, Chris Ottowell is in, as is Randy Upchurch in Southern Illinois, no less. And what are you saying there, mate? Greetings, sir, from Southern Illinois. Much love to all my world brothers and hoping all are well. I'll second that emotion as well, mate. Then we got Blue Sofa Songs, John Mack, Cushman NYC, which I presume stands for New York City. Neville Ray is in, and who else have we got? We've got Stephen Hedger. Is that the Daler 22 from just down the road from me, Eston in Teesside. Yes, I know it well. I've been through it many, many times. And then we got Mr. Chris 5254. Anyone seen my channel yet? I must admit, it was on my to-do list for this week, but I've been that snowed under with work. I've had, as you will see, I've had a pedal demo to film this week. You won't be seeing it this week because it's quite a way in advance. And for reasons that I won't bore you with, filming a demo or some kind of review of doing a pedal, the way I'm set up to film in here is a bit of a faff around, it has to be said. Which is why I don't do that many pedal demos. So I've been busy, basically. So I will take a look at your channel this week, mate. Then we've got Peter Goddard and Colin Falcon. Whites is in, so is Eric Luttinger. There's Johnny, and who else? We've got Peter S. We've got 60s Man. We've got Cal Texper in sunny LA. Yeah, you see, you lads are used to it over there. I mean, you show your average kind of Englishman, especially from the north of England, a few degrees of sunshine, and we just kind of start melting and sweating and turning red. It doesn't help the fact that, for the half a dozen sunny, warm days we have in this country, nobody thinks it's worth it to install air conditioning anywhere. This room, I can't tell you how warm this room gets. Then who else we've got? We've got John Channing and Sean House. I've said you already, haven't I, mate? And it didn't freeze. Yes, proved you wrong this week. It didn't freeze on the intro. There's Jeff Benner and Brad Dowell. No, it didn't freeze for you either, did it, mate? And yes, yeah, all the people typing freeze in the chat, and it didn't. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe the more people who type freeze into the chat, maybe it just kind of, it kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but maybe it defies you. And then we got Jeff Crouch and Steve Cassidy guitar. Don't forget Steve's video later, well, straight after this video here. He's looking at the Player 2 Stratocaster that he featured on his live stream last night. And Steve, a charity boxing match, mate. A charity boxing match, mate. You know, yes, I am 5'19", but I couldn't knock the skin off a rice pudding, so I wouldn't rate me chances against a young whippersnapper like you. Anyway, then, if you want to know what that's all about, go and watch Steve's live stream from last night. And who else we got? William Forrest. Sargi is in, so is Maidenman 74, GRB Aquatics, Guitar Bass Dude, Russell Gibson, and Jimmy James, Maria Muggs Davis, Malcolm Thompson, and anyone else. I think... oh, yeah, you were in second, weren't you, Rent-A-Kill? Yes, sorry, I forgot you were second in line, but you used to be first quite often, didn't you? And then we got Alonzo White, Triple Distilled, the Essex Cat, and Brian Bilbo Baggings is in saying, how do, John? I know some of you kind of quite often rotate through a bunch of different kind of monikers on here. You know, there's, you'll change your YouTube. Is it still called a handle or username or whatever? So I don't know if I've spoken to you before, but I think that's the first time I've seen that name, Brian Bilbo Baggings. Let me know if you used to be the artist formerly known as, and then, what you used to be called. Then, who else we got? We've got Jay Aoyong and anyone else? Let's have a look. Budget Pedal Chap. Nice to see you, mate. Tom Clark is there, and I believe that is everybody. Apologies if I've missed you, but I do need to finish my drink after that. The first one never touches the sides, does it? Right, we've got 123 souls on board at the moment, so that's enough to give the first shout out for what I want to talk. Well, one of the things I want to talk about tonight. Excuse me, I just got to go into me e-mithers and grab this email here because it's got a link I need to post in the. Oh, it's a big old chunky link as well. So copy link. My missus used to work for a local cab firm. And when I say local, they are literally 100 yards up the road from us. But she's retired from that job now. Anyway, she gets on particularly well with many members of the staff there, including one of the drivers, a lad called Anthony. He's called Anthony Simmons Sargent. And he's raising a bit of money for charity. I do the thing for Zoe's Place every now and again. Well, there's another kind of local charity around here, Teesside Hospice, which is just exactly what it says. You know, it's an organisation that provides help and care to people who are in a desperately awful situation. And he's raising a bit of money for those lads, for those chaps rather. And the way he's doing it is he's driving his taxi all the way down through the length of this country, hopping on a ferry or going through the tunnel, I imagine, and driving all the way down to Saint-Tropez in France. It is in France, isn't it? It is, isn't it? Of course it is. South of France. Anyway, he's getting in his taxi and he's driving it all the way down to France to raise money for this rather worthy cause, Teesside Hospice. And he has a Just Giving page to raise money for this. So I'm just going to pop that link in the chat. As I said, it's a little bit of a chunky link, but it's there in the chat right now, hopefully. Or yeah, there it is. It's gone in twice for some reason. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tiny URL it because I think that is too long a link to fit in the chat. So let's just do that and shorten URL and copy that. So this is the link you want to be following. There we go. When it posts, that will take you to his Just Giving page, and very worthy cause. And is he putting the meter on for that? I don't think so. It's anyway. It's one of those things that the kind of terminology changes very, very quickly around the UK. What we call a taxi in this part of the world is the kind of thing where you pick up the phone and kind of ring a number and say, "Can I get a car to take me from here to here, please," or whatever. And we call that a taxi. Elsewhere in the country, they call it a mini cab. And what people call a taxi, where you kind of just wave it down in the street, we call that a hackney up here. And it's a different license to drive the different types of vehicle. So he's not on a meter, Steve, is what I'm trying to say. So yes, if you can, if you are so inclined, I'll keep putting the link in the chat periodically throughout the live stream. He's a great fella, Anthony. He's driven me many times. I think when I had my arm in a sling and I was incapacitated, shall we say, he was taking me through to hospital many for appointments that I had to go through for that, and also when I had the old visit from a few years ago when I had the visit from the cancer fairy. It was, he was one of the lads who drove me. So, if you can help him out. Paul Trainer, BSc, thank you so much, mate. That is much appreciated. But can I ask a favour, right? If you're going to super chat me tonight, if you're going to kind of chuck me a couple of quid or whatever it is, I massively appreciate that. Give it to Anthony's kind of Just Giving page instead. It's if you're feeling generous on a Friday as you're having a beer, then give it to a worthier cause than me. I'll tell you what I'll do, Paul. After your generous donation there, I'll chip in that couple of quid that you've given me to Anthony's Just Giving page. So yeah, any kind of super chats tonight, go and give them to Anthony instead. And I'll keep on putting the link in the chat. I'll do it again now. There we go. There is Anthony's link once again in the chat. Blue Sofa Song saying, aren't London black cabs called hackney carriages? Now it's getting an Uber. Yeah, it's basically the way the law goes across the UK is a taxi is something that you can kind of pre-book with a phone call or an app these days, I guess, and a hackney is one that you can flag down in the street. Anyway. What you're saying there, Maria Muggs Davies. Apologies for Tabgate, guys. Learning tabs is required for learning. Yeah, all of the people who say that tabs are harmful and will stifle your ability to play by ear, I really genuinely do get where you're coming from. Because if you rely upon them, if that's the only thing you use to learn how to play a particular piece of music, then it will do that. But I just think that we need a balanced diet, basically. We need to, kind of any form of writing down or reading a piece of music, is a good thing because it allows you to communicate that musical idea or to write it down so you can remember it or to show it to somebody else, in a way that is not open to misinterpretation. But that it shouldn't be a substitute for basically developing these things, developing your ears. And I just think so many people think that it's a binary idea. You either use tab exclusively or you play by ear exclusively? Well, there's a bit of both involved. And as I said, the one thing that really, brought it home to me is just my ability to play by ear. You go back, 20 years, let's say, to the turn of the century. I could play by ear pretty well by then. I'd been doing it for years. But I've noticed that since I've been writing tabs out regularly, since basically I got Guitar Pro, and started using that and started tabbing stuff out regularly for my students, my ability to play by ear from transcribing stuff and writing it out has just taken off. It's really, really enhanced it. So, maybe relying upon tabs to read music isn't a good thing, but, reading and writing sort of go together, don't they? They do when it comes to the written word. So maybe, if you have your doubts about tab, then start writing it, start transcribing, start kind of figuring stuff out and writing it down. I'll guarantee you will notice that you develop your auditory skills a lot quicker than you would otherwise. Anyway, let's talk about what's going to be on the channel this week. I just realised that as I was reading out the list of stuff I was going to go through last week on the live stream, I got distracted halfway through and I never finished the list. So I'm going to make sure I finish the list this week. So Sunday's video, you saw a brief, if you were watching closely in yesterday's video when I was talking about tab, you saw a brief glimpse of the guitar that we're looking at tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, Sunday. A Squier Classic Vibe thin line Telecaster. That's what we're looking at on Sunday. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to a chap who I know, and he's another one of these lucky people that keeps winning guitars in that kind of Guitar Gear giveaway raffle. Can't tell you how many tickets I've bought ever since that other mate of mine won the Les Paul Custom. I have not won a damn thing. I couldn't win an argument, me. But anyway, this is a Squier Classic Vibe. I think it's an FSR, one of the factory special run, one limited edition thin line Telecaster. Beautiful guitar, and you can see what it's all about on Sunday. Then a TV show, a one-off TV special that I've mentioned many, many times on the channel, that was on in 1985 on TV in the UK and probably syndicated worldwide in 1985, was the Carl Perkins Rockabilly Session, featuring Eric Clapton, Dave Edmunds, Ringo Starr, the lads from the Stray Cats, loads and loads. Roseanne Cash was on it. All just kind of getting together in a TV studio to have a jam with rockabilly legend Carl Perkins. And it's basically another one of the solos from that session there. One of my students requested in a lesson that I tab it out for him. So I did. And it's a great little kind of accessible 50s style rock and roll solo from that TV show, from the legendary 80s Carl Perkins TV special. If you've never seen that, there's loads of it up on YouTube, so go and check it out. Just type in Carl Perkins TV special and you'll find it. It's just... You'll have so much fun for a couple of... It's about 2 hours long. You'll have so much fun for a couple of hours that you'll have a massive smile on your face. Then Tuesday's video, top 5. Well, it's not a top 5 this week. It's one of those kind of occasions where I simply couldn't narrow it down to 5 particular finalists. So I've done a top 10. And I've done my top 5... I think I've done 2, haven't I? Guitar instrumental tracks. Well, I'm narrowing it down even further. It is my top 10 guitar solos of all time. Okay, those are what we're talking about on Tuesday. Just the best guitar solos of all time. And I've just done a video this week that, because I've heard a solo since I did that video, that I thought that should have been on it, so there might be a part 2 of that. So yeah, Tuesday, top 10 guitar solos of all time. Then on Wednesday, it's a rhythm guitar lesson. That's what we do on Wednesdays these days. And the topic under discussion is, basically how do you strum an electric guitar? Because if you take that sort of, sitting around the campfire strumming cowboy chords approach to an electric guitar, which is what you tend to do on an acoustic guitar, it just doesn't work. It just won't sit in a mix. The thing about an acoustic guitar is it can be like a solitary instrument, just a sole accompaniment for a singing voice or maybe a fiddle or something like that. It's basic that the acoustic guitar can be the full band, but an electric guitar is much more of an ensemble instrument. It fits into a mix with bass and drums and keyboards and other things. So there's a different strumming approach required for electric guitar, and that is what we're going to be looking at on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, it's something I haven't done in a while, an unboxing video. You've been seeing this GAK guitar amp keyboard box in the background for a little while now, and you're going to find out what was in that box when it turned up. And that's Thursday's video. And then you know what happens after Thursday. This is what happens after Thursday. Oh, it's very important in this warm weather to make sure that you keep yourself hydrated. So, yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm just replacing lost fluids. Let's see if this is going to be a flaky one. I think it was Russell Gibson who pinged me a message today saying, "Have you seen today's Wordle? It's particularly relevant to the live stream," and rather shamefacedly, I had to kind of say, "What's Wordle?" Apparently, it's a kind of some sort of, I don't know, is it like Scrabble or something, like some kind of word guessing game? But apparently, today's word, is it online or something? Today's word was flake. So there you go. Let's see what I've been missing in the chat while I've been blethering away there. Maidman, what you saying? I think you should do a top 5 continuing from last week's one song album to an album you bought for one song but realised it was a cover to cover Smash. Let me read that again. I think you should do a top 5 continuing from last week's one song album to an album you bought for one song but realised it was a cover to cover Smash. Cover to cover. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm cover to cover, as in kind of front to back, beginning to end. I thought you meant cover versions. Yeah, that could be it. That could be, a topic for discussion. Albums that lived up to expectations rather than didn't. And I can't tell you the amount of people, including a certain Mr. Cassidy there in the chat, who took issue with me over, my sort of slight ambivalence towards the Extreme album Porno Graffiti. I can't deny the musicianship on that album is absolutely stellar. Admittedly, if I live to be 110 years old, I never, ever, 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 ever need to hear More Than Words ever again. I can't tell you how many. That was one of those songs that like Wonderwall that was sort of around at the time when I was starting to become a guitar teacher, and I can't tell you how many people I taught that song to, like Wonderwall. It's just like, I know I never need to hear that again. But the rest of the album, I don't know, nothing grabbed me on it. I can't deny the musicianship on show, and I can't deny, Nuno is just a beast of a player. And just like everybody in the band, for that matter, Gary Sharon, what a singer, what a set of pipes on him. No surprise that he ended up briefly in Van Halen, didn't he? I don't think it kind of worked out that well, but he was Sammy Hagar's replacement in Van Halen. And I think, by the way, can I also say that I think Extreme were one of the standout acts from the Freddie Mercury tribute gig. But just that Porno Graffiti album, it promised so much with Get the Funk Out, and I was expecting every track to be that kind of top tier level, and I don't know, maybe you think they were, maybe you think the rest of the album was, but I just never, it never kind of got its teeth into me. What can I tell? And to be fair, I also did slag off a Gary Moore album on that, in that video on Tuesday, the After Hours, the follow-up to Still Got the Blues. I can't tell you how much I wanted to fall in love with that album, and it was just like, I think the thing with Still Got the Blues was it was so spontaneous. I believe Gary financed that with his own money because the record company weren't interested in doing a blues album. So he kind of put his own he put his hand in his pocket and financed the album, or at least partially anyway. And it was just, you got the feeling that he was flying by the seat of his pants, and most things were first take, and it was just there. And then suddenly it was a hit. So the record company said, yeah, we'll kind of stand you for another blues album. And After Hours came out, and it just seemed just that little bit slicker, that little bit more corporate, that little bit more, I don't know, just produced. And I just didn't think it was as good an album. I sense Readers' Wives coming on. Yeah, we're getting to the halfway point, aren't we? That's usually when I kind of drop into that. Let's just catch up with the chat a bit, and then we'll go and do the viewers' guitars. Budget Pedal Chap. The Hate for More Than Words. The vocal harmonies are class in that tune. I don't deny that. It's just, it's like, there's technical ability and then there's inspiring music, and the two aren't necessarily the same thing. Don't let more than words define Extreme. Okay, well, yeah, fair enough. Jerry White, what are you saying there, mate? I haven't watched the tab vid yet, but tab plus standard notation can be more accurate than standalone notation. Doesn't show you the exact note to play with a guitar having repeated notes on different strings. Yes, mate. That is my my bugbear with learning to read standard notation fluently. I can read it, but I can't sight read it. But if you give me tab with rhythm notation, which is how Guitar Pro kind of puts it on, then I can pretty much sight read it. Take a close look at some of my solo analysis videos, because the way those work is, first thing I do is I figure out the chord sequence and the tempo, and I put the backing track together. And then I put the chord progression into Guitar Pro, and then sit down kind of, on a kind of Windows PC, you can go Alt-Tab to go between two different things, like two different apps. So I'm kind of Alt-Tabbing all the time between Audacity, where I've got the song, or where I've got the solo kind of, kind of isolated, and then Guitar Pro, and I'm just kind of pick up the guitar. Oh, that's it, is it? And I'll kind of get it tabbed out. So then I'll learn the tab. I'll learn the solo from the tab. And I'm recording it onto that machine there into audio-wise, and I'm videoing it on this camera. And quite often I have the tab up on this screen in front of me here, and as I'm playing it, I'm sight reading it. I can sight read tab with the rhythm notation. Can I sight read standard notation though? A couple more comments, and we'll go to the Irish Stew saying hydrated or liquefied. Yes, well, either or, mate. Maiden Man may need a Steve Cassidy comfort break. No, it's the it's leaching out of me bald head at the moment. It's, as I say, it is rather warm in this room. Rexomatic is contemplating the new Spark 2 with added loop, a battery option, new speaker design, 50 watts. Yeah, the thing that grabbed me about, or kind of puzzled me rather, about the original Spark amp is that it was a stereo amp, but all of the reverbs and delays and stuff, so far as I could hear, were in mono, and that was just like, well, why? So I hope they've figured that out. But you know, will I be reviewing the Spark 2? No. It's not something I have any interest in. And a top 5 video I did a while ago was things I've learned about making YouTube videos, and one of those was don't make videos about things that you're not interested in. Because your lack of interest will come through, and if you're not interested in the topic, then your viewers ain't going to be, and it'll get no views, and you'll have wasted your time. So, unless Positive Grid send one to me and ask me to review it, but I don't think that's likely to happen. But I mean, I can't really say anything bad about the Spark amps because apart from the first one that I bought that was dead on arrival. And it was a bit of a faff around to get it to get a working one out of them. But it just never really grabbed me. I just didn't think the sounds were anything better than you could get out of your average £99, kind of generic brand name Sonicake or whatever. Kind of multi-effects pedal. I just didn't think it was worth that amount of money. But there you go. Anyway, shall we have a look at some of the guitar pictures that you chaps have sent in? Let's fire this up, and where I want screen share. And once again, it's not giving me the option to it did this last week as well. So I had basically what it is, I've got the picture already open, and it should just allow me to kind of select that window to share the screen, and it's just not doing it. So I've got to go through all of this again to go into that folder, and then go into that folder, and then go into that Viewers Guitar Picks folder, select that image, and then come back to StreamYard and go screen share. And will it let me do it this time? Oh, yes, it will. So here is the first picture this week. Now, this comes from, is it Andrew Patton or Payton? I do apologise. One of those is bound to be right, but this is a 1984 Ibanez Destroyer. And you look at this. Is there any picture of a guitar that absolutely screams early to mid 80s than that? You could imagine some guy from Iron Maiden or Def Leppard probably with sweatbands on his wrists, playing a guitar that looked a lot like that. It's just got that really kind of new wave of British heavy metal look about it, hasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Lots of happy memories came flooding back to me when I saw that picture. What we got next? A brace of Sire L7s from Dave Lewis. Now, Sire L7s, just as you can see, are absolutely gorgeous looking Les Paul style guitars. I had one, and I can't tell you how much I wanted to fall in love with that guitar. It was an absolute gorgeous guitar to play, just the feel of the neck and everything, and just the quality of the fit and finish and the looks of it, beautiful. But I just couldn't love the sound. I kept telling myself it was, it's a kind of light, kind of snappier take on a Les Paul sound, but I just couldn't love the sound. It just seemed to lack guts. I could have parted it out and swapped the pickups, but I just thought, well, yeah, I'm going to be putting money into a guitar when I've already got a Les Paul that I really love. So it ended up moving on. But I know a lot of people love these guitars, and Dave obviously does because he's got two of them. What a lovely pair! I mean, white and gold. What a combo. Nice one. Let's move on. And another Dave Lewis guitar, the vintage Midge Ewer. It's always a step up, isn't it? Excuse me, just having a swig of beer. It's always a step up for any budget guitar brand when they get a relatively big name endorsee. And I think this was the moment when vintage kind of came of age, when Midge Ewer said, you know what, I've been playing your guitars for a while. Will you do me a signature model? And Trev Wilkinson and the lads at Vintage obviously said, okay then. And that is, it's not the style of guitar that you associate with Midge Ewer when you think of the kind of 80s Ultravox period, all that kind of sort of synth pop. And but Midge was in Thin Lizzy for a brief period, but even then you don't tend to associate Midge Ewer with a gold top P90 guitar with an old kind of Maestro vibrola kind of trem on it. But he obviously loves that sort of aesthetic. And anyone know what Midge is up to these days? Is he still touring? Is he still doing stuff? I did hear a bit of a tickle of a rumor that he was producing and more of a kind of songwriter these days for other people. But what I'm saying is, it's a lovely looking guitar. Anyway, what we got next? David James's Harley Benton TE20. Obviously, I think that's quite modded, isn't it? I keep thinking about those TE20s because I like Telecasters and I like twin humbucker guitars, and generally speaking, I like Harley Benton guitars. So Harley Benton, this is like the sort of like well below £100 guitar, isn't it? So it's one I really should check out, and maybe pit it up against other guitars that I've got in here, a couple of which you haven't seen yet. So I'll keep me powder dry on those. But yeah. The number of people who have these guitars and who've modded them, it just seems like such an excellent modding platform because that's what people do with them. Then we've got Dave Roberts' guitar here, his Bernie Les Paul Deluxe. Again, a brand of guitar that I've never ever played, Bernie and Greco, those sort of lawsuit era guitars. And this one comes from 1978. Mate, that is a really clean looking guitar from, if it's lasted, how long now? 1978, thick end of 50 years, 46 years. Beautiful looking example. I recently found out, well, not recently, but sort of relatively recently, that what I always think of as a quintessential Les Paul tone, the title track from Camel's Snow Goose, was actually played on a Bernie Les Paul. So there you go. Then Derek Clacton's Blackie and Greenie. You can probably see the title there. Yeah, that is Derek's. I might have had this Squier guitar myself. Once upon one of my first Squier guitars was a black Strat with a maple fingerboard, precisely because it looked like Eric Clapton's Strat in that Carl Perkins TV show I was mentioning earlier. And that might have been the same model I had. But yeah, it's just got that sort of 70s and 80s Clapton vibe going on. And then the little clue here, let's have a look at the mismatched volume and tone controls. I see what you're going for there, Derek. That is very much the Greenie aesthetic, isn't it? You just need to flip that neck pickup around. It won't give you the outer phase sound, but it'll do. It's kind of, it'll give you just that little bit more of a Gary Moore kind of vibe. What's next? Oh, this is one from Robster Boy, where he was obviously all holding the camera the other way around. Robster Boy is a student of mine, a great guy in the States called Robert, funnily enough, and this is his PRS. I've never seen him playing this in one of the lessons, but this looks like an SE Custom 22, and gorgeous looking guitar. It has to be said. You know, if you didn't know it was an SE, then you could. And the thing that gives away modern PRSs, modern USA PRSs, is they use the square bobbins on the pickups, don't they? I wonder how long before aftermarket pickup manufacturers start kind of producing, you know, pickups with square bobbins so you can drop them into your SE guitar and have the same sort of lovely looking guitar. I mean, my thoughts on the Racing Pigeons, they're well known, but I've got a PRS here, as you know, that has the bird inlays. I'm starting to learn to live with them. Anyway, another Robster Boy guitar. This is Robster Boy. You need to hold your camera the right way around, mate. This is his Strat. I have seen this in the lessons many times. I think this is. I'm not sure. I don't think this is a Player Series Strat. I think this is one of the USA ones. Possibly. Well, it's got to be the USA Professional, hasn't it? Because the Performer has the big 70s kind of CBS headstock, and I know how much Robert loves that guitar. He plays it all the time. And now here's another blast from the past. Steve Mackey's Aria Pro 2. This was again around about that sort of time when it became socially acceptable amongst guitar players to not have to own a Fender or a Gibson. I always remember the foreword from that wonderful publication, Ralph Denier's The Guitar Handbook. There's a picture of Andy Summers playing, I believe, one of these guitars, certainly an Aria Pro. I can't remember whether it's this actually model, but in my memory, it looks a lot like this. And that was when, okay, yeah, these are some really good guitars. That's when people started kind of tumbling to the fact that these guitars made in Japan were, as good as, if not equal to, the Fenders and Gibsons of this world. And the Aria Pro, back when I was at like a 17-year-old at college, there was no way that you thought you could ever own a Fender or a Gibson, but you could possibly own an Aria Pro 2. So that was an aspirational guitar for me back then, and this picture brings back a lot of happy memories. Let's see what's next. We've got a couple of Strats from Stephen Hedger. Fender USA 60s reissue Stratocaster and a Fender Japan 1958 reissue Sunburst Stratocaster. The 60s reissue, I had the Fender Japan one of these for many years. It was my main gigging instrument throughout the 1990s. And little did I know that if I'd hung on to it a few years later, they would have become massively sought after, those Japanese reissue guitars. I ended up kind of selling it for a ridiculously low price. But there you go. You live and learn. A couple of lovely looking Strats there, mate. And what we got next? We've got Timbo's Africa Strat. I wish I had some more info on this, but I don't. But it's a very, very restrained looking guitar from Timbo, a chap who we know has rather, shall we say, heavy tastes in music. This is something that I would have. Where are the the kind of devil horns and the the downside up crosses and stuff that we know that you tend to adorn a lot of your guitars. And there's another Timbo guitar, a Westfield Les Paul custom that he got from a Skip, which for our American correspondents, a Skip is what we call a dumpster over here. New pickups and a full clean. Well, that's a hell of a find, mate. You find one of those just thrown out for the bin men. That is, you got to love that, haven't you? Anyway, that is this week's selection of what is everybody's calling this section now the Reader's Wives section, and I'm sorry, I don't get that reference. I've never bought that kind of magazine. Anyway, Gordo Canuck is saying, does Ovation make guitars with pickups or just acoustic? They did used to make electric guitars with pickups. because one band that they obviously kind of sunk a load of money into and said, use our gear, was Dr. Hook. You go and check out any old TV appearances of Dr. Hook, the guy with the eye patch. Remember him? And what was this? The beardy guy called Dennis Le Carrier, I think. Me and the missus almost went to see him at a local venue once. Dennis Le Carrier, the voice of Dr. Hook, and he cancelled because he had laryngitis. And my quip was, well, would we have noticed? Because he always had that sort of rough, raspy voice anyway. But yeah, Dr. Hook used to have some kind of deal going on with Ovation guitars. The Ovation Breadwinner, that was it, wasn't it? Their one of their kind of electric guitars, which was a really weird shape. Let's just have a scroll back through the chat and see what else is going on. Let's have a look. Because I can't see the chat when I'm doing the pigeons are all right, Robson. Yes, as I say, I always thought they were just that little bit. There's a fine line, isn't there, between opulence and ostentatiousness, and I always thought the Birds just kind of crossed that line. But given that I now own a PRS that you've seen on the channel a few times, I can't really kind of make any claim to have a problem with them because I love that guitar. Ray Sawyer, that's the guy with the eye patch. Yes, and you know when the name is on the tip of your tongue, but for some reason I can't imagine what that might be. You can't remember. You can't bring it to mind. Sylvie's a lot of talk here above Dr. Hook songs. Ovation Breadwinner, says Calby in the Rocco Cat. Didn't quite make the straight face, John. Whatever, John. Did I ever tell you? I'll tell you this story. I've said it a few times on the channel, but it hasn't come out. I haven't dusted this little anecdote off for a while. Just up the street from us, there's a little kind of corner shop. What in America would probably be called, I think, a bodega, and it sells everything. It sells everything at a price. It's open till like midnight or whatever. And back in the days when I used to smoke, I walked up there one Friday evening, and there was a queue at the cash register, and there was a guy in front of me in the queue, and he was obviously a contractor, like kind of just working temporarily, staying in digs in town. And he'd obviously got his Friday evening kind of well planned out. I'd gone up there to buy me cigarettes. What had he got? He'd got a bottle, those big 3-litre bottles of Frosty Jack's cider. Never been in the same room as an apple, just entirely made of chemicals that are purely designed to get you absolutely scuttled out of your head. So he'd got his alcohol sorted. He'd bought a packet of cigarettes, a Frey Bentos meat and potato pie. Frey Bentos pies, you basically they come in a tin, in a can, and you take the lid off, stick them in the oven, and 20 minutes later you've got a meat pie. And he bought let's call it a gentleman's special interest periodical publication from the top shelf. So he's got his booze, he's got his smokes, he's got his food, and he's got his reading material, his exotic reading material. There's a man who knows his Friday evening is well planned out. You got to love that, haven't you? Q equals line, says Tom Clark. Yes, indeed. Yes, sorry. I keep forgetting. Who was it who said? Winston Churchill, who said Britain and America are two countries divided by a common language. For instance, in the USA, chips are what we call crisps, and what you call chips, what you call French fries, we call chips. it can be confusing, especially when you're married to a Canadian who is, she's been here long enough now that she's kind of picked up on the British version of English, but occasionally Jackie can't bring herself to say the word tomato. She just can't. She says, no, it's wrong. It's always a tomato to her. Anyway, I've been blethering a lot tonight. Maria Muggs Davies is saying, how's the lovely Dougal? He's absolutely fine. He's really tired at the moment because it's been hot outside and he had to kind of pull, I should say. There's another linguistic difference. He had to pull a big lump of 19 stone fat bald lad around the field today. Thing with Dougal is you can't let him off the lead when you take him out for a walk. You just can't, because like a feather floats past on the breeze and that's it. He's gone. He's half lurcher, and the instinct to chase is just so strongly kind of bred into him. And there's nowhere secure that's like where he can't get out onto a road, for example, that we can let him off the lead. So the trick is to give him a resistance workout rather than a cardio workout, and he loves to pull. He loves to pull, and yes, so he's absolutely scuttled at the moment from the heat and from pulling me around the field out the back of us. I've got to put you up on screen there, Balder64. Glasgow and Las Vegas are the only two cities where you can pay for sex with chips. I'm stealing that one, mate. I'm gonna have that one for you, off you. That's brilliant, mate. Well done. I could also add red car to that one. There are certain sections of Teesside where that may also be true. If anyone knows Port Clarence from this this neck of the woods, then yeah. Anyway, let's have a look. What else have I missed in the chat? Johnny D, I love my birds too on the SE. Yeah, I just once upon a time when I was so tempted this week. There was a USA made PRS CE24 that had been kept in the case since like 1989 or whenever it was, bought as a collector's item back then, and it's in pristine condition, and it's up on eBay at the moment for about 1,600 quid. And it's like, well, I can take that money out of the savings, and I can kind of cash in that ISA, and I can, when you're kind of going through the mechanics of how you could possibly, but that has those beautiful moon inlays on it, which I much prefer than the birds. As I say, I don't love the birds on a PRS, but I think I've learned to live with them. PFY guitars. You can get a house for a bag of chips in Port Clarence. Yes, that's perhaps a little bit too localized for people outside this area to understand. The thing you will probably kind of get though is that the more kind of charming the name of any kind of estate or kind of locality, Port Clarence. It sounds such an upmarket place to live, doesn't it? But honestly, you don't want to live there. You just don't. Maidenman64 saying, I think the most beautiful guitar I've seen is Knopfler's Penseur Mark 1. Yeah, it's a good looking guitar. And I always, I always wondered why Mark Knopfler, because that guitar was specifically apparently made for Mark Knopfler. Which I doubt, actually, because, would he have specified a Floyd Rose bridge on it? Given that, like, when was the last time you saw Mark Knopfler using a trem? I think it was just a guitar that was in stock at Rudy's Guitar Emporium in New York. I think it was just a guitar that was in stock, and it was like he loved it. He loved the feel of it, and thought, right, that's mine. And then it became sort of the Mark Knopfler model. Paul Trainer saying, "Don't do it, John. Save the money." Yeah, well, that is something, because every I am trying to save the money, because one of the savings accounts I was thinking of plundering was the one that kind of bails me out every January when I get the that nicely worded letter from the government asking me to contribute to our world-class public services. When I pay my tax bill, basically. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but it was like it was literally coming down to, is buying this guitar worth kind of a suspended prison sentence for non-payment of taxes? Obviously, it wasn't. Anyway. David Evans is saying, John, did you hear a few weeks back that Dean won their lawsuit appeal against Gibson? I did kind of scoot past that, but it wasn't something that I paid a lot of attention to be honest with you, because, Gibson and lawsuit tend to be just two words that seem to be inextricably linked, don't they? I think I remember seeing that, but it wasn't something, as I say, that kind of piqued my attention to. I think possibly the reason why I didn't kind of click on the video about that was because it was the way I work is I do lessons that are kind of 40 to 60 minutes long. So if a lesson only lasts 40 minutes, and I've got another guy kind of booked in at the top of the hour, then that's when that 20 minutes there is often when I'll get the chance to kind of sneakily watch a YouTube video. And maybe I just didn't have time in that kind of sort of window to click on the video. Vincent Brenner saying, who played the solo on Taxman? I don't know. I would have assumed it was George, but it's never a kind of done deal with the Beatles, is it? For instance, you think George was the lead guitarist, so he played lead guitar. But then it turns out, no, they'd swapped instruments that day, and it was Paul or it was John, or I don't think Ringo ever played any lead guitar or anything. But it's never who you think it is what I'm saying. Theme tunes. There we go. You lads are almost like, well, you're better than Google, because I wouldn't have a beer with Google. But theme tune saying Paul McCartney played the solo on Taxman. George did write Taxman, though. Yes, he did, because he was as impressed with the anyway. Yeah, you know what the sentiment behind the song Taxman is. What else have I missed? Johnny D is guitarists and buying new guitars. It's a madness that most of us get affected by. Why? Well, funnily enough, you mention that, Johnny D. That is the topic of an upcoming video. I'm about four and a bit weeks in advance with the videos that I make. So, like the videos that you're seeing next week, or were made about a month, 5 weeks ago. So in a month or 5 weeks' time, there's going to be a video going out, I think in the Thursday slot, about what it is that drives us to buy particular brands of guitars. And on that note, chaps, we are coming up to the deadline for the stream. And I'm out of beer. I've worked my way through 3. There's number 1. There's number 2. There's number 3. Get yourself over to Steve Cassidy's channel. Watch his video on the Player 2 Stratocaster. That's what I'm going to be doing as soon as I've had my my obligatory Friday evening curry. But that is it for today, chaps. Thank you once again for turning up and watching a fat, bald lad from the up north talk absolute cobblers for an hour. It's been a blast, and I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But till then, time, gentlemen, please.